once again, George Pickens is in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. I'm going to show you where George Pickens gets his mental disorder from. The apples don't fall too far from the tree. But before I get into that, Ryan Clark and Stephen A. Smith have said that you're not allowed to criticize any black athlete if you're any other race than black. So I want anybody that's watching this video to look at my Kenny Pickett video that I made, absolutely destroying him for being coddled, entitled, arrogant, saying that he needs to go. So let's get into George Pickens. Let's read his father's tweets, and we'll go from there. October 9th, George Pickens Sr. says, George Pickens, the athlete, a very fiery competitor that wants to win. He's a very talented young guy that has definitely been misunderstood. Really, George Pickens the third? He's been misunderstood. It's not his fault. It's not his fault. So, when he walks off the field, when a quarterback throws an interception and just walks off during the middle of a play instead of trying to tackle the guy, he's misunderstood. He's misunderstood when he shows up every day late for practice. Is that misunderstood? Is it misunderstood when he wears certain eye black under his eyes, basically saying, I'm always effing open, what's your effing problem? Is that misunderstood? It's just a joke. You wonder why your kid acts like this? It's because of you, George Pickens III. It's because of you. He has the super competitive gene. Guys with that gene have to be involved early and often. It's an engaged tactic. Involve him early. So, when things aren't going right, do you see TJ Watt act like that? Do you see Minkah Fitzpatrick act like that? Do you see Cam Hayward act like that? You don't think they have the Super Bowl gene? George Pickens III? It's all about George Jr. It's all about George Pickens III and his son, right? The big mean Steelers, how they don't appreciate George Pickens Jr. I'm going to get into his contract in a little while, but let's think about that. There's not a person in that building that doesn't want your son to succeed. His teammates, the coaching staff, the fans, the Rooneys, the city of Pittsburgh. Everybody wants your son to succeed. And you act like somehow everybody's against him or holding him down or not letting him do his thing. That's what George Pickens Sr. makes George Pickens Jr. think. And that's why this kid has a mental disorder. That's why he acts the way he does, where it's all about George 24/7. It's not like he's at a job where they mistreat him. They wanted him. The Steelers picked him in the second round of the draft. They've paid him millions of dollars to make him feel like he's special. And George Pickens III, he's misunderstood. He just wants to win. So I was at the game versus the Cowboys. And they finally throw him the ball on a third down, a crucial third down to pick up a first down, keep the drive going. And the ball just goes through his hands. No. Walks off the field nonchalantly. Who cares? You should involve me early. I don't care. I dropped it. That's his whole body language when you watch the game. Is that everybody else's fault? George Pickens III? Is it? I mean, it's a legitimate question. He dropped the ball. Is it everybody else's fault? Let's go to the next tweet. Arthur Smith, this one's on you. Oh, boy. Listen, I know it's the NFL, and you have to scheme. But at the end of the day, it's up to the players to execute. And if you don't execute, you can have the best playbook in the world. If the players don't execute, it's on the players. So what George Pickens III does is big mouth. Do you think you're making the situation better? I mean, it's a legitimate question. Do you think, as his father, somebody that should be giving him good advice, be patient, hang in there, it's a team sport, we'll get it together, gets on X, and right away, Arthur Smith, this one's on you. Your son, it's on your son and the team. He could have did his part to win the game, and guess what he did? He dropped balls. But hey, it's always easy to blame everybody else. Next tweet. Don't try to throw it to George now. The offense is sad. Oh my God. They can throw the ball to your son anytime they want. They are trying to win the game. Oh, wait, so let me get this straight, George Pickens Sr. Because he didn't get the ball the second that he wanted it, don't throw it to him now to win the game? I mean, how did he act on Christmas, your son, when he didn't get the gifts that he wanted? Because you sound absolutely ridiculous. And this is why your son acts exactly the way that he does. Like, how old are you? You look like late 50s, 60s. And this is why I say that George Pickens Jr. has a mental disorder and he gets it from his father. And guess what's going to happen? Let's get into the next tweet. Dallas beat the Steelers with Dak throwing 2 interceptions. This offense don't play to win. They try to play not to lose. I watched the Ravens and Bengals today. Sheesh, we got to be better. The offense doesn't play to win. No, George Sr., they want to lose. They don't want to complete passes. They're just out there just window dressing, right? So again, does this tweet help your son? Does this tweet help the perception of your selfish, self-absorbed, obnoxious son? No, it doesn't. And you know what? If you're such a big Ravens fan, a Bengals fan, ask your son, ask his agent to trade him to those 2 teams so the Steelers can whip his sorry ass twice a year. And then he can bring his sorry-ass attitude to those 2 teams. See, the difference between George Pickens and Antonio Brown is this. Antonio Brown went crazy on the field in a good way first, and then he went crazy off the field in a bad way. But he put up outstanding numbers before he pulled the shenanigans that he did. Your son's only in year 2. And for the most part, he's done absolutely nothing and has basically won nothing. I know one thing. Your son will never be Hines Ward. Who's got the Super Bowl ring? Not Antonio Brown. Think about that. They had the 3 Bs. Big Ben, Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown. Still had a great defense. Didn't win a Super Bowl. And you know why they don't win Super Bowls when on a team like that? Because you got too many guys that act like George Pickens that thinks it's all about them and not the team. Hines Ward, blocks, you name it, he does it. He puts it on the line. So another question's for George Pickens III. Let's say the Steelers, week in and week out, they lost. And your son put it on the line every week, blocking, going crazy, fighting tooth or nail. The city would love him. The fans would love him. I remember when the Steelers defense was loaded. Kevin Green, Greg Lloyd, Rod Woodson, Kirkland, Chad Brown, Scott. I can't remember some of the other guys' names. The offense wasn't very good. And that defense fought and scrapped and would fight you to the death to stay in that game before they made it to the Super Bowl. The city loved them. The fans loved them. We might not be getting wins, but they loved them. So, George Pickens III, do you think this diva attitude that your son gets from you is helping him? I'm going to keep asking you that question over and over and over again. Let's go to the next tweet. It's hard to watch this offense. My goodness. This is George Pickens' father throwing up these tweets. His son is on that team with a bunch of professionals that give it their all, putting hours in to win games. And this idiot's father, another idiot, is sending out tweets like this. Do you think it helps the situation, George Pickens III? Do you think it helps your son's mindset showing up for practice, showing up for the game, giving his best effort, and being a team player when his own father makes stupid tweets like this? No, it doesn't. So let's watch some more of these delusional. Let's watch George Pickens' teammates stick up for him.
I've never been in this place that I'm in, as well, and it's tough, but also at the same time, that, there's better days ahead, and also know that there's challenges along the way. I think with George, in particular, I try to, relay to him that, number one is that, we love him, and we love who he is, we love the player that he is, we love the competitor that he is, and that's the thing that you have to understand is George a bad teammate? Absolutely not. Is George a hell of a player? Absolutely. Is he a great competitor? Absolutely. Is he a guy that wants the ball? Absolutely. Is he a guy that can do anything on the field that most people can't? Absolutely. So I think the best thing that we can focus on is finding different ways to get him the ball. Obviously, also too, him staying composed, but also understanding that it's all team effort. And the one thing about George is, and you guys saw, the best thing that I saw, even though he didn't react to that one moment in the game, he responded well. You saw the big third down that he had, and he just got the crowd fired up, and he was in it. He was still in it despite the moment. Some people, sometimes you can get out of it mentally, emotionally, and he hasn't done that, and he's been a great teammate. And we're looking forward to his best. We're looking forward to our best as well, and it's a great team effort, and we all want to win.
Total garbage. You think I'm so tired of everybody coddling George Pickens. He's just a kid. He's misunderstood. He's not misunderstood. He's selfish. He's arrogant. He's antisocial to a degree. He shows up for practice late. If he doesn't get the ball, he quits. He'll walk off the field during the middle of an interception, and everybody's got to coddle George because he's so sensitive, right? He's so fragile. Fragile George. If you don't give him the ball early, that's it. I'm taking my toys. I'm going home. God, it's absolutely sickening. And watching the national media like Ryan Clark, even J.J. Watt, he's a good team. He's misunderstood. Give me a break with all this coddling. Oh, and another thing they always say, well, if the Steelers get another receiver that could complement him, it'll change. If they get a better offensive line, things will change. If they get a better quarterback, it'll change. Nothing will change with George Pickens because this is who he is. And everybody knows it. So just stop already. And I know what the Rooneys are thinking. He's on a rookie deal. It's not a lot of money. I mean, he's getting $1 million this season. If it works out, great. If not, see you later. But do you want to win right now? Because the next time George Pickens pulls one of his stunts or charades where he shows up late to practice, walks off the field during an interception, or just quits, he should be cut the next day. Send a message to the team. This behavior is not acceptable. It's not acceptable. And I'll say it again. George Pickens, second-round pick, had some injuries, but coming out of Georgia, there was concerns about his character. Steelers paid him millions of dollars. The fans were super excited to have him. Everybody wants George Pickens to succeed in the building. There's not a person involved with the Steelers organization or fan base that don't want George to succeed. And George Sr. brainwashes George Jr. somehow to think that that's not enough, that they're not doing enough for you, right? That somewhere else will be better. And then when he has a shitty attitude, the father will just say, "Oh, he's just misunderstood." You're the biggest problem in your son's life. And the reason why he has this shit attitude is because of his dad. Filling his head with all types of nonsense. I mean, look at the tweets. You can't argue with me. First of all, if you really did feel that way, you wouldn't tweet it. And you would pull your son aside and say, look, you got a short window in a pro career. You got an opportunity of a lifetime. Just put your head down, get to work, make the best out of it. And all you could do is contribute your part to the team. Do you think not showing up to practice late helps? Do you think walking off the field during an interception helps? Do you think not blocking for your team? He refuses to block sometimes. Oh, I'm only going to give it my all if I'm getting the ball. Selfish. Just like his dad. And where does George Jr. learn it from? His father. And that's why I say he has a mental disorder. And the saddest thing about that is George, the kid, probably won't realize that he was totally wrong till he's about 35 or 40 years old when his football career. I had enough of George Pickens. It's time to put him on the trade block, cut him, whatever you do. He shouldn't be a Steeler anymore.